This video goes through 2.21, describing the structure of the leaf and explaining how it's adapted for photosynthesis from the nutrition in plants topic. The blank version of this can be found in classwork on OneNote, and the completed version that's seen in this video can be found in the content library. Okay then, so starting with the waxy cuticle, it's obviously primarily made of wax for waterproofing of the leaf. Loss of water is a massive problem for plants because such a huge amount of water is already lost as water vapor through the stomata, that having this waterproof layer on all the other surfaces of the leaf is really important to reduce that as much as possible. Next layer down then we've got the upper epidermis, which is thin and transparent. It's transparent because the colour of the other cells comes from the chloroplasts containing chlorophyll, and so without those chloroplasts it does make them transparent. This allows almost all of the light to pass straight through to reach the layers down below, but also works as a good barrier to disease. Particularly we're thinking about parasites, fungi and bacteria. Next layer down then is the palisade mesophyll. Their shape is very distinctive. They're very tightly packed together. They have a very kind of tall, long, thin shape, looking like columns. They are also tightly packed with chloroplasts. Now the reason why it's beneficial that they are in the orientation that they are is that if you look at this here, where you've got a palisade cell, the way up that we do find them in plants is that as the light is shining down from above, is that that light energy can be absorbed by as many chloroplasts as possible as it's passing through that layer of cells. If the palisade cells were the other way around and they were on their side instead, and they were kind of wider than they were tall, but they still had the same number of chloroplasts, is you can see that the light is likely to pass through less chloroplasts, and so there's likely to be less absorption of light compared to the tall and thin shape which we do see. This also means that as light's passing down through the leaf, that it has to pass through less cell walls, which does cause some dispersion of light, which would mean that slightly less light would be absorbed by the chloroplast. Next one down then we've got the spongy mesophyll, where cells do still contain chloroplast, less so than in the palisade mesophyll, and the cells do tend to be more spherical, less rectangular. They're much looser packed, and they do contain air spaces, which does allow gases such as oxygen, carbon dioxide and water vapor to easily diffuse between the outside of the leaf and the inside of the leaf. So that would be an example then of gas exchange. That gas exchange happens through the stomata, which are the holes in the lower side of the leaf, often called the pores, and this will allow carbon dioxide and oxygen to be exchanged, but also is how water vapor is going to exit the leaf. Normally we do find them in the lower epidermis, but with a few exceptions. So leaves where you would find them on top of water, such as lily pads, is that in that case we might see a slightly different orientation, where we might see the stomata on the top of the leaf instead. The guard cells then, so this is going to be either side of the stomata. Now they can be open or closed. When they're open, it's primarily to allow carbon dioxide in for photosynthesis. Oxygen and water vapor do also leave through the stomata, but it's not the primary function for them being open. This is mostly going to be happening when there is sufficient light levels for photosynthesis to occur. So daytime is generally when we would see the stomata being open and the guard cell in this open position. When photosynthesis can't occur, such as when it is too dark, we would see instead the stomata being closed, and so the guard cells in this closed position. The primary function for this closure is to prevent excess water loss. Most of the water that gets taken in by plants through their roots, through their root hair cells, that moves up through the stem of the plant and out into the leaves, most of that water is lost as water vapor through the stomata, which means that when there is enough light for photosynthesis, the stoma will be open to allow carbon dioxide in. But when there isn't enough light for photosynthesis to occur, the stomata will be closed to reduce water loss as much as possible, because, as I said, almost all of the water that gets taken in by the plants is lost as water vapor. So reducing this is very, very important for the plant.